morning and welcome to another great edition of Now, Judy Copenbarger today. So I'm happy to report that we are getting ready to launch an exciting new phase and a new chapter with Judy's program, Money Truth Moments, and everything else that goes along. This amazing person, Judy, that's shared so much with us during the last several years, and it's now going to be a 2.0 where we take things to the next level. But enough of that. Welcome. How you doing, Judy?
I am awesome, and I'm excited to level up. Let's go.
Level up. I love that, right? This is, I think it's going to just set some things at a higher level. It's going to make you folks try to push you guys to your potential as well, too. And if you're just joining us for the first time, welcome. We're going through some changes, so make sure that you are aware that the website that we refer to now is no longer judycopenbarger.com. It is judycopenbarger.today. So make sure that you guys make a change. Make sure you put it in your bookmarks as well too. It's coming soon. We're getting ready to launch, and we're going to be launching here. We'll tell you a little bit more about that later on in the show. So we'll keep you guys guessing a little bit. So we've got a great show for you guys. Again, welcome. We're here every Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. here with our money whisperer, Judy Copenbarger, and we are looking to get started. And I want to talk to you a little bit about. We've been kind of leading up to the launch of your new site, the launch of your new program. I want to talk about, though, some experiences that you've had. I mean, and some of our viewers have always talked about how much they learn from what you share with clients, what you've experienced in your career helping people. So I wanted to take a moment on, as we're ending June, tell us maybe a few folks that stand out for you, or where are they now? Where do they start, and where you have them now these days?
Wow, there's so many people. When you ask that question, one that comes to mind is a young couple. We have them all over the spectrum. Sometimes people will say, "What is your ideal client? Like, what is their age range? What is their net worth?" It doesn't matter. The way we do our work, it doesn't matter. And this couple that comes to mind, they're out of back east, and they were a young couple when we started working together. We're probably entering year 6 now. And when we met, they had done all the right things. They went to school and got good grades, and they listened to their parents, and they stayed out of trouble, and they got great degrees, and then they got great jobs, and then they turned those great jobs into better jobs. And they were just doing their things. They're very citified. We live on a farm. And so people that are city people, I call they're citified. They love the whole urban experience and walking around downtown to the pubs and the restaurants and the activities and the bustle of the city, which I can tolerate in small doses, but I got to have my open spaces and my chickens, But anyway, so this beautiful young couple, we're starting to do things right, but they're hearing from everybody else. They're hearing from their peers. They're hearing from their mentors. They're hearing from people at work. They're hearing from people at church. They're hearing from their neighbors and all their friends they went to college with about, you should do this. You should invest in this thing, or you should be buying that thing, or you should, and everybody has different advice. And you go online to kind of verify the advice, and it's even more confusing. A lot of bad advice out there, by the way. And so they were trying their best to really navigate well and steward what they had been, receiving and what they were accumulating, and no kids at that point. And so they were trying to figure out how to do that. So we got connected. They got referred in and looked like a great fit. So it became a super great fit. But when we started, they had probably $50,000 or $60,000 in his 401k, 10 or so in savings, which is great. And they were saving up for a house. And so with their incomes that were pretty high and still are high, they were going to be able to save a whole lot of money quickly to get into this spot. But then the thing is, do we get a condo, or do we move out to the suburbs? Do we buy one as a rental and live in the other? Do we buy a duplex, maybe live in one side? All these questions. And of course, everyone they talked to had different advice for them. And it was all golden advice, but confusing. So one of the things we did was get them into the right home for the right reason, with the right kind of payments and the right kind of investment. We started steering all of that income into tax deferred and tax-free investments for the future, for their goals and for their long-term future. And we just started allocating the income. And I would say, when I look back at these couples that have had this 5 or 10 years history or more, there's usually kind of a theme, like how from my perspective they benefited the most.
Mhm.
And I think for this couple, the big benefit to working with our team and getting their house in order is now they have protection in place. They have the right insurances, they have their estate plan. They have two littles now, adorable, one of each. Perfect, right? They're just like white picket fence, perfect suburb people that are citified. And so they have all of the protection in place. They have everything growing the right way, and they have allocated their income. So I would say one thing is they 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 kind of cut through the confusion and all the information that came at them was one thing. So clarity. And the other thing is they're on that path. You know, it's like it's certain for them. It's confidence for them. It's hope. It's kind of a peace of mind for them. And so they have all the right things in place. They're minimizing their taxes and optimizing the growth. And they have everything in place for all, the 20, 30, 40, 50 years to come. And they're going to be awesome. So that's where they are now. And they've just been so fun to work with, and they're coachable, and they take the advice and they implement and they respond, and they're awesome. So I would call them ideal clients. And they're great for a young couple. They're doing awesome. Early 30s now, and they're just rocking it.
Wow. You started with something that I think affects a lot of folks, a lot of us, that it's you get so much advice from so many different people and you don't know, this is right, this is wrong, even from quote unquote professionals who would tell you, no, you got to do this way. And, you talked about this last week too, when you're building your tribe, when you're building your team, some of the things that you have to look at. And folks, if you didn't catch last week's episode, please do so, because Judy did cover a lot of who your team is, what happens when a teammate goes rogue, or what happens when also how you determine who's on your team using the 4-H method. So it's a very valuable episode. Make sure you guys watch it, and you'll get a lot of those questions answered. But you're right. I mean, even now, right? You're still, if you don't have the right person or the right person or the right team members, you're kind of floundering out there. Like, okay, so this person said this person said that, and the news is telling me this, so I don't really know what to believe anymore. So I think that's key, and I'm glad that for young people, it's huge. I mean, if I can go back in time and do things the right way and got a hold of you, over 30 years ago, it would have been awesome too. You know what I mean? But
No, we made our mistakes too. Even knowing better, you still make mistakes because you
right,
want to believe people and you want to trust, a process. And, the two things that get in the way for a lot of people are fear and greed. Those are like the drivers that will get you in
right,
trouble. And so when people are like, oh, I want to do this ground floor, I want to buy this thing, cyber, whatever, it's still just check yourself, make sure it's not like a greedy move and it's not a fearful move. Because sometimes fearful moves are no moves, right? Which is a decision.
right.
So, yeah, those are the two things to watch out for from my
So
perspective.
when you think also, so you talked a little bit about the young folks. Talk to us a little bit about somebody, let's just say, came in more towards retirement age, right? And these are
Mhm.
folks that have been working their entire life. They don't know any better. And, they're like, oh my gosh, I got 5 years before I retire or 3 years before I retire. What do I have to show for it? How am I going to live on whatever? Because I've heard you share some stories over the years, but what's one that stands out to you as of today?
Yeah, I just met with a couple last week. We're probably 10 years into our working relationship. I'm working with mama. I was working with mom and dad, and they were probably 5 years or so from retirement when we started working. And they had a lot of little things. Nothing was working together. It was just like they just kept adding little pieces to their financial, portfolio. And they didn't have the protection in place. They didn't have an estate plan. So we put all that together. We got their investments the right way. When he retired, about 5 years into the relationship, which was a while ago, we got everything in the right order. We made sure the insurances were intact and the way they needed to be. And thankfully, he died before. He died before we expected. Not thankfully, but thankfully, he had planned for that just in case, and it happened. Sudden and very unexpected and shocking, and great guy too. But we had everything in place, and so she's been able to take the retirement programs, put them into a lifestyle that works for her. There was life insurance that she was able to do something for the kids and then for herself to make sure her future now is intact. The business that he ran, solo practitioner, we sold. And so the proceeds from that provided a nice big buffer for her the first 5 years after he passed away. She lived on that, saved a lot of that. And then when that ended, she had enough that had cooked, the money was in there cooking, that had developed into basically a personal pension for her. So now, even though he never got to set up a pension, we have that created. So she has that certainty of income, and it is awesome. And I just met them, and they were off to the mountains for 2 weeks with all the kids, all the grandkids, 23 of them,
Wow.
for a trip that every other year she provides for them. She pays that they get a big house or two up in the mountains, and they just go riding. They ride their mountain bikes all over, and they go hiking, and they play tennis and golf, and with all the cousins, they get to spend that time together. And these are young families that couldn't otherwise afford something like that. But because of grandma and grandpa's planning and some foresight, we were able to put that in place for them. So they have all that connection and those wonderful activities they get to enjoy together. So that is very rewarding for me to be able to be in the front lines, to have helped that happen for them, and then to watch it unfold. As these kids, grandkids now are growing up, and they were all little bitty and coming along back then. Now they're like junior high and high school, but they're all connected because of some of the activities they've been able to afford for the family. So makes my heart happy.
That's awesome. And I'm gonna also I'm gonna give you a side question here too. And I want you to talk about the importance of planning, right? Because that's the crucial first step. You've always talked about that. But I also want you to touch on the dark side of it is when you don't plan what the outcomes, what can
Mm.
happen. And I know you've shared some of this as well too, but I want folks who are listening or tuning in for the first time, especially from this episode, if nothing else, you remember, folks, these two things about planning and versus poor planning or not having a game plan at all. So you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, when you mention these things, faces flash
I'm sure.
in front of my mind, and one of them is way back. I was probably early 30s, way back. It wasn't that long ago.
So last week, right?
Uh, yeah, and I had a good friend that I had served with her in MOPS for many years. We had little kids, about the same time, and she had a little girl that was probably 3 at the time when this happened, but she did hair, and so I would go to her house and we would just chat, have tea as she would do my hair. And we did that for several years. And she knew I was in the financial business, and she would say things like, "Yeah, we should probably get our will done. We should probably get some insurance." And it was like, "Yeah, you should." But I never really pushed it because that's not my role. It's like when you need it, we'll get it done. And but I always thought, boy, you need to have it in place. It's not that much money. 20, $25 a month, they have full coverage. So they didn't do it. And one day he didn't come home from work. He was an electrician, and something happened in the attic of a building he was working on. The power wasn't turned off when it should have been, and he was killed. And so he just didn't come home that night, and they found him, the next morning up in that attic with a little kid. And I always had this kind of guilt that I should have pushed harder. I should have said, "Come on, here's the paperwork. Let's do it." I never want to be salesy. I'm just not salesy. But I've always felt like, I need to, when I have that kind of tug to help people do what they want to do, I should probably lean a little more. And that's one where the planning wasn't there. It would have been so simple to have $500,000, $1,000,000 of insurance would have made that next 10 years for her way easier, because she struggled for a long time. Now it's many years later. She's remarried and off, to the races. But that next 10 years, her whole 30s was really a struggle for her and her daughter. And I always felt a little bit of guilt, around that one. Although I didn't do it, but I kind of not did it, you know?
Mhm.
And just the other day, Saturday, I went into the office and I had a meeting with a whole family. So it was mom, who is 75 or so, three of the four daughters. One of the daughters died a few months ago, and ex-husband of 40 years wanted to come, speak in. And we had the whole family. We had the attorneys. We had everybody in the room, big conference room. And this is a gal who kind of started late in life. She always struggled, raised her kids on her own, which are now in their 50s, um, and did all these things right. What was missing was family harmony. because things have happened. Her health is changing, her memory's going. She's still competent, but probably not for long because of her physical conditions that are coming along. And so we're trying to figure out how to help her now, kind of after the fact. So, she could have had a will, she could have had a trust, she could have had insurances in place back when she was, insurable. Now she's not, so that's not an option. But I was able to pull the family together, and I said in the meeting before we started, my role is to bring family harmony, which it's not. It has not been, and to make sure that we're all on the same page for looking after mom. You know, we all have different ways of getting there. If we all agreed on everything, some of us would be unnecessary. But we're all here. We all agree it's about mom's future, her having enough money, her having the care that she needs by the children that will provide that, and the finances that will provide that. But we all want the same thing. Mom to be happy and just live out her days, right? And do her bucket list, whatever it is. But we have different ideas about how to get there. That's where the disagreement comes. And that's where all these childhood, family disharmony issues pop up. And that's what was happening: fighting, backbiting, just mean things said. And part of that, they're grieving, right? This lost sister. These three girls are grieving their sister that they just lost. And, the finger pointing and the blame and things like that. It's like, wow, we all grieve differently. But if we could put that aside and remember that, eye on the prize, let's look after mom. That's the past. We're going to move forward. And so that's something where some planning and some, intervention could have happened over the past 30, 40, 50 years, and it didn't. But we're kind of working with what we have now. And I'm thinking, there's so many things they could have done if we had met 2 years ago, 5 years ago. There were more options, more tools, we could have pulled out of the toolbox. But now we're working with what we have. So that one is close to my heart and close to my mind right now because it's just happening. Just this week, we're doing that. But I always think about, if we'd met sooner, if we could have, laid out the menu of options that you have sooner and, taken a path. So, and that happens to me a lot. I'll meet people and it's like, oh, usually they'll say something like, where were you 20 years ago? It's like, well, I was right here. It just wasn't the right time, for us to meet. So I do hear that a lot. And sometimes I have those thoughts too. Boy, if we could have, which is really part of why I do this, like interviewing with you and putting out, the Money, Truth, and Life program that I have and the book that I wrote. And some of the tools that I have available for people, I can only see so many people because I have a life too, right? And there's so many hours. We each have 168 hours a week. And so it's really been a deep imprint on me to get some of this information out to people who are looking for it. Because there's not a lot of good information. It's confusing. It's usually self intending, all the information out there in the bookstores or online. It's usually they want you to buy something or do something or benefit them somehow, the company or the person. And I just really want there to be a safe place to go get what I call truths about money truth. Like this is really how it works. These are the right questions to ask your professionals so you can navigate well at your house. So these stories are really why I'm where I am now, trying to just make a difference out there and put the information out there that's pure.
And this is actually a great segue into speaking about your legacy, your why. You just touched a little bit on this too. And
Yeah.
for folks that are just joining us for the first time, so you don't know that I was going to say this, but I'm going to put you on the spot for a moment. So over the years, I've gotten to know your what you're all about. We've done this show, for the last several years, and it's what I've noticed from each and every episode. There's always wisdom. There's always different things that you bring to the table, and it's not about that you're looking for new clients because that's not what this has been about from day one. It's not about how many millions and millions of books are going to sell, how many millions and millions of programs you're going to sell, but it is about you making a difference. It is about you and your legacy. And I want to take a moment because, like you were just saying, how you impact people. I don't think I think you know how you impact people, but I don't think you know the wealth of how much you really make a difference in people's lives. So I want you to talk about your why. Why are we doing this? Why are you here? Why is that book on your shelf? Why are you doing what you do?
Well, I kind of touched on that a minute ago. It's the honor of being kind of in the front row of the bleachers, watching these lives unfold that would have been on a path. They had been on a path that wasn't going to end well. And I mean, not like they're going to be in the poorhouse. Some might, would have, should have. Um, but it's just making sure that you're navigating well. There's a lot to finance. You're growing things, you're protecting things. There's every possible confusing legal and financial, blah, blah, blah out there that you could be doing. And everybody's doing something different. Everybody's pitching something different. Everybody's got the way that works, the golden road. And I think it's very confusing. So to take all of that, and I've been around the block a couple of times over the past 40 some years. So to take all of that and be able to just put it in a bow and make some sense out of options based on where you are in life and what's happening in your family, not what everybody else is doing or what they want you to do, but what you're doing, bring the right tools to get the outcomes that you want. And so we always start with, I love your question, why I do what I do. That's the question I ask all my clients. Why? What are your values? How do we align with those values? What's most important to you in life? And let's say you never got a 14% return year after year after year or 16% return. What if you never got that, but you achieved every goal that you ever wanted, all those most important goals, the big rocks, right? What if you achieved all of those, but you never got the returns you thought you might? Are you happy? Well, of course, right? All of your goals, your family things, your charity things you want to do, that you're driving the car, you're living in the place, you have that cabin in the woods or that villa at the beach. You're able to take trips like the client I just mentioned with the family and just have downtime together, those kind of things. So when people get to do that, even if they didn't get whatever return they expected, they're happy. Inverse is also true. Let's say you got 15% return every year, year after year, 30 years of that. I mean, you've got a ton of money. You're living at the biggest house on the highest hill, but you didn't achieve your most important goals, whether it's about your family, whether it's about your purpose, whether it's about causes that you care about, connecting with people, building a business, sustaining something that has meaning for you in the world. If you never got to do that, but you had a pile of money, are you happy? And in my experience, those people are not. So if you can tie the money stuff, the money activities with the goals and the values that you have, starting with why, what's it all for? Yeah, I want to have a pile of money. Why? What's it
Right.
for? What do you want to achieve with that? And we connect those dots and then we chart the course and implement that. That works. That works for people. So I get to be in the front bleacher, front row, watching that unfold as people who are coachable do the right things, implement the right things, trust the advice, they listen to the coaching, and they put that plan in place and then they get it done. And then they achieve goal after goal after goal after goal. And their life is like, wow. And they look back. We usually look back and reflect together and go, wow, here's where you were. Here's where you are now. What do you think? Is it worth it? It's just amazing. And usually it's just small decisions every day, small choices about money every day. It's not the big one. Like we can never have pizza again. We have to eat top ramen. No, you can have balance in your life. But it's those little tiny decisions, little tiny choices every day that are within alignment of that path. Like you're on the map, go in the direction you need to go to get there. But we have to start with where's the impact point? Where's the end game? Where is your destination? What are your values and the outcome that you're looking for? And our team is equipped to help people do that. That's what I get to do day in and day out. It's the best ever.
I think it's also, I can speak for our audience and myself too with this, is it's what makes you also separates you from everyone else too, is that you really break it down for folks. You're not, talking way over anyone's head just because, and most financial people will tell you stuff that you're like, you don't want to ask questions because you don't want to look dumb. I mean, that's reality. We're all, when we're doing this, but you have this natural gift of just breaking things down. So when you walk away empowered with knowledge versus I got a million other questions and who can I ask? You know what I mean? That. And I think that's also been very powerful that you come across and you've shared with this. I also want you to talk a little bit and tease folks about what's coming up with your website. The
Oh,
revamping of this. What can
I,
we expect?
Yeah, I'm excited. So it is the 2.0. It's next level. We're one-upping our game. So I didn't plan on the timing of it. It just happened. But judycopenbarger.today is now the new place to be. So it was .com, now it's .today. And we're rolling out other new videos, new content, new everything. It's designed to be more relevant. We chose today for a reason. It's relevant, it's current, it's what you need today. And really, it's this environment of all this information coming at you. You listen to the news. What are we supposed to do? You listen to the financial people. What are we supposed to do? You listen to the influencers. What are we supposed to do? What should I do at my house to make my family in a better position? How do I achieve my goals? And this is the relevant place to be with current information to help you navigate all that information and misinformation, now they call it, out there that really is not good for you. This is a place where you can find out in your own world what's good for you and what you should be doing. So I'm excited. It's all new. It's got a new look. There are some things you can listen to, the podcast and the radio stuff you can listen to. There are some things you can watch like this if you prefer video. There are going to be templates that we upload that are from the course, all kinds of like worksheets and ways for you to end up getting the right answer for the questions you have at your house. So I'm excited to get all that all in one place for everybody. And judycopenbarger.today is where it's going to be.
All right, folks, you heard it. Make your change. It's going from .com to .today, right? Today, folks, remember that. So with that said, we're coming to the end of the show, and you know what that means. It's our Money Truth Challenge. What do you got for us today?
It's very simple. Well, actually, it's one of those things that's easy. Or maybe it's not easy, I don't know. But it's a very simple challenge, and I want you to just reflect. A lot of you won't do this, but I want you to reflect on 5 years and 10 years from today. So whatever the date is that you're listening to this, 5 years from now, what's the outcome that I want? Do I need to put my insurances and my estate planning in place, like the protective parts? Do I need to plan for something going on in the family, tuition for the kids, or an anniversary trip, or replace a vehicle? Is there a goal I need to just really get down on paper and chart the course for? In 5 years, what do I want to have in my life that's more, better, and different? What do I need to do? And then I would do the same thing for 10 years from now. What is it that 10 years from now, I don't want to be in this place with this aspect of my finances? I want more in savings. I want my retirement plan locked down. I want to not be working. I want to be working. I want to have my own business. I want to sell my business. I want to help my kids launch well. What is it 5 and 10 years from now that is that impact that you want? Where you are sitting there, whatever that date is on the calendar, looking back, going, yeah, that's the way I should have played it. I got the results I want. This is the outcome. I'm sitting exactly where I want to be. And you can be ideal about that. It's amazing how some people hold back and it's like, well, I don't know if that's really possible. Doesn't matter, right? Be ideal about it. What would be ideal? So if you do that 5-year mark, 10-year mark, if you don't already have that down on paper somewhere, write it down, get pictures about it, make a vision board, whatever it is. You got to get that clear, get it in front of you. And that's probably the first and most important step in any financial journey. And that'll help your family. So that's your challenge.
All right, awesome. You heard the challenge. If you guys have any questions, please email us, send us a message. We'd love to address some of your concerns or questions. And if you also have some suggestions on topics that you want to hear in any upcoming show, please share that also with us. Judy, any last parting words?
Oh, make it a great week. It's a beautiful time of year. Enjoy yourself.
All right, folks, we will catch you guys next Tuesday. Make sure you tune in at 8 a.m. Watch the replays at 8 p.m. on Thursdays. Until then, have a great week, Judy.
Blessings. Bye-bye.